The famous rifleman Chuck Connors died in 1992, but he left behind more than just a TV show. He had a life as exciting as any Western, with scandalous affairs that almost ended his career and a secret role in Cold War negotiations. After 30 years, the truth finally comes out. A baseball player from Brooklyn became a hero in the Soviet Union. Why all three of his marriages ended in scandal, and the terrible secret he kept until the end. In 1921, Kevin Joseph Elysius Connors was born in Brooklyn, New York. He would go on to become Chuck Connors. During the hard times of the Great Depression, Alan and Marcella Connors worked hard to support their family. They were Irish refugees. His dad was a longshoreman, and his mum did odd jobs to make ends meet. Life wasn't always easy, but Chuck learned how important it is to work hard. Chuck lived in a working-class neighborhood and played sports at the Bay Ridge Boys Club a lot as a kid. He really liked baseball and hoped to play for the Brooklyn Dodgers one day. Chuck's life changed a lot when he was 14. Scouts knew how good he was at sports, so they offered him a sporting scholarship to Adelphi Academy, a New York City private high school. He took full advantage of this big chance. He did very well in many sports at Adelphi, including baseball, basketball, football, and even track. Chuck played first base very well in baseball, and in 1939, he was named one of the best high school players in Brooklyn. Chuck had more than 25 schools give him athletic scholarships after he graduated from high school. Seton Hall University in New Jersey was his choice. There he played baseball and basketball. He played backup center for the team in basketball and helped them win with his height and defense, but baseball was where he really stood out. One game in 1942 stands out because Chuck hit 2 home runs and drove in 6 runs. Professional scouts are interested in him. During this time, Chuck got the name that people know him by. During games he would yell "Chuck it to me," and the name stuck. World War II cut Chuck off from college. In 1942 he joined the Army and trained at Fort Knox. He was picked to be a tank warfare teacher because he was tall and good at sports. After that he taught soldiers at West Point, and even famous football players who went on to win national titles. Chuck kept up with sports even though he was in the service. In his spare time, he played pretty good baseball in Brooklyn, and he even played competitive hoops in the NBA. Chuck was honorably released from the Army in 1946 after 3 years of service. He joined the Boston Celtics during their very first season in 1946 after getting out of the Army. He played forward and center and was 6 feet 5 inches tall. During that season, Connors played in 49 games and scored an average of 4.5 points per game. On December 13, 1946, he had his best game. He scored 15 points and helped his team beat the Providence Steamrollers in a close game. He played basketball for a while, but not for long. After only a few months with the Celtics, Connors left in February 1947 to follow another dream. Playing baseball, he got his big break on May 1, 1949, when he joined the Brooklyn Dodgers. Things didn't go well at first, though. Connors hit into a double play in his only game with the Dodgers, which meant they lost. He did not give up. Instead, he worked hard in the lower leagues, where he played for teams like the Montreal Royals. He got back to the big leagues in 1951 with the Chicago Cubs. He had some big games that season, in which he played 66. He hit his first home run against the New York Giants on July 18, 1951. After 1 month, on August 26, he hit another one, this time against the Giants. At the end of the season, Connors had 48 hits and hit .239 as a hitter. That's pretty good for someone who played 2 sports at the same time. In the strangest way, Chuck Connors' journey to Hollywood started. In 1952, he played baseball for a minor league team called the Los Angeles Angels. During a game against the Sacramento Solons on a sunny afternoon, something strange took place. Chuck hit a huge home run. It wasn't just any home run. Someone in the crowd noticed it because it went over the fence. Mr. Billy Gordon is a casting director at MGM. Billy couldn't look away from Chuck's big strong body and rough face. He went straight into the changing room after the game and gave Chuck his card. He told him, "You should think about becoming an actor." Chuck didn't think much of it though. He was interested in sports and didn't think of himself as a performer. Then, not long after that, Chuck hurt himself while playing. He could have thought about it, but it wasn't important. He was interested, so he went to MGM to find out what all the fuss was about. He was shocked when they gave him a screen test right away. They liked what they saw after he tried it. After only 3 days, Chuck signed his first Hollywood deal. His life would never be the same after that quick choice. It was in the love comedy Pat and Mike, which starred Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn, that he got his first part. Chuck had a small part. Even though it was just his first role, it was a big deal for him as a police captain. On the first day of shooting, Chuck was both excited and scared. He got there early and got ready for hours. He didn't have his scene until late that night, but he did a great job with it in just 2 takes. Spencer Tracy even told him to keep going with what he was doing afterwards. Those words meant a lot to Chuck, and gave him the strength to keep going. After that, Chuck jumped right into performing. He played every part he could find, no matter how big or small. He was in more than 20 movies between 1952 and 1958. As Bern Sanderson in Disney's 1957 movie Old Yeller, one of his early parts that people will remember the most. A lot of people loved the movie, which made Chuck even more well-known. He was also in movies with John Wayne, like Trouble Along the Way, and with Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston, in The Big Country. Each part he played made him get better as an actor and become better known. Aside from his job in movies, Connors was in a lot of TV shows during this time, appearing in 18 different shows. It wasn't usual for artists to work in both movies and TV shows back then, but Connors' hard work and ability to adapt to different styles helped him do well in both. He was ready for the next part of his job after 6 years of hard work, different roles and screen time that added up to over 1,400 minutes. For a while, Chuck Connors wasn't well known, until he played Lucas McCain in The Rifleman. He played a dad in Disney's Old Yeller in 1957. The people who make The Rifleman saw him act and thought he would be great for their show. At first, Connors turned it down because the pay wasn't as good as what he was getting paid for other playing jobs. But the show's makers really wanted him, so they gave him more money, and even a 5% stake in the business. That made him decide to play the part. As soon as Connors was cast, he began training to get ready. He got better at riding horses, and learned how to spin and shoot a gun in a way that looked cool on camera. The moves were taught to him by Rod Redwing, who is very good with guns. But Connors didn't stop practicing until he got it right. His hands hurt and burned from all the work he did. When it first aired on September 30th, 1958, the show was a big hit right away. More than 14 million people watched the first show. Lucas McCain, played by Connors, was tough but also nice, mostly with his son Mark, who was played by Johnny Crawford. One of the best things about the show was seeing the father and son close. Some people thought Connors did a great job of showing both feeling and power. A big deal was also the gun in the show. It wasn't just a normal gun, it was a Winchester 1892 that had been changed in some way to make it stand out. The switch was made extra big so that Connors could spin it in a cool way to fire the gun. It became his signature move, and he did it at the beginning of every show. The gun could also shoot very quickly, thanks to a unique screw in the trigger. This made for exciting scenes where McCain could quickly beat a group of bad guys with his guns. Because the gun was so famous, Winchester made a real-life version of it for fans. But there was more to the show than just war. The Rifleman was different because it was about family. Lucas McCain was a dad in the Old West, who had lost his wife and was raising his son by himself. At that time, This wasn't popular on TV. Most families had both parents. The show talked a lot about how hard it was for Lucas to be a father and a guardian. In one scene, he had a hard time letting Mark speak in court because he was afraid for the safety of his son. In another, Lucas had to keep his temper in check while showing Mark how to handle his feelings. Lucas and Mark's friendship seemed real, and a lot of people linked with it. A lot of single dads wrote Connor's letters thanks him for letting them know they weren't the only ones going through hard times. Someone who had lost a spouse wrote, "Your show has given me the strength to keep going." It's not just that Chuck Connors was the star of Rifleman, he was also very important behind the scenes. He started talking with the writers during the second season. He pitched story ideas, and some of them were used in shows that people really liked. One of them, The Photographer, was based on a time when Connors had to deal with a fan who was too excited during his baseball career. Connors also made sure that Lucas McCain's lines fit with who he was. It was his goal for McCain to sound like a real cowboy from that time. He often rewrote lines to include words from the past. Connors also worked hard to make McCain a figure that readers could relate to. He didn't want McCain to look like a perfect hero. He instead pushed for stories that showed McCain's flaws and moral problems. McCain kills an innocent man by accident in one episode of Waste. Connors pushed for this story because he thought it was important to show how dangerous it is to carry a gun. Connors also brought in guest stars, like Duke Snider, who used to play baseball with him, and helped up-and-coming players get their start, like Dennis Hopper, who was in the pilot episode. By the end of the